Oh, Terminator, yeah. I thought Terminator was a bit too old now, but yeah, we are familiar with it. And that's kind of from Terminator. And how about this one? Hearing different things. How about that one? You've gone quiet. Are we familiar with this one on the right hand side? My right hand. Lost the sound. Okay, so that is from iRobot, right? With Will Smith and other things. The whole idea of, remember the three rules, right? The robot taking over the world, saying they are canceling each other and everything. So general AI actually is, of course, quite sensational, and as a result, is gotten a lot of attention. And normally, when you talk to someone outside the field or who do not have much knowledge about what AI is, this is the kind of stuff they begin to imagine, or this is where they think that the world is at the moment. Where yes, we say, yeah, even though it's theoretical, does this theory seem logical? Yes, it does, because at the end of the sort of the way the name itself, artificial intelligence, gets you to start thinking towards the general AI direction, right? So yeah, at the moment, yes, we can write code, we can build systems that can see, systems that can hear using various senses, and systems that can talk. We've seen various examples in the videos that we've watched in the class from almost every single session that we have used. And I quite remember you saw also an app that's been created by faculty in HSC as well, which I believe was really impressive for someone who she. Sorry, if you're losing my voice, I'll try to moderate my voice so you can actually hear me. For someone who grew up speaking Chi and seeing what's up stuff in local languages and other things, I found that really impressive as well. And we have systems that can make really, really fast decisions as well. For us, like self-driving cars and other things, and start being used in video games, like we saw earlier as well. Things doing protein synthesis for us, even for these are all amazing things that we are achieving with AI at the moment, right? So the concept is people are thinking, yes, eventually the system themselves are going to start putting two and two together, especially with the vast data available via the internet, and fetch as much information as possible, become self-aware, become like, what do you call it? I forgot the name of that Avenger, that is the AI system. Eventually became Ultron and took over some things. Anyway, move away from movies and come back to real life, right? Yeah, that's sort of the view, but honestly, the view is the reality is that no, that's not going to happen now, because I mean, even if you look at amount of computational power needed, I mean, some of the examples that we've looked at, even with some of the basic data that we've been processing, do still require some computational power. Some of the algorithms and all those kind of things can have high computational power in dealing with large sums of data at the same time. So yes, things like quantum computers have become powerful. We've got GPUs and other stuff, but we even have to go beyond that to make the required processing power possible. And quantum computers are currently competing with DNA computing, where people are actually using human DNAs to process the ones and zeros needed for to create basic digital logic. And I believe was believed that that's being done as fast as possible. We do have some prototypes, but at the end of the day, still one really expensive to implement, and also years away before it becomes commercialized to the level where general public can use. But even that, with all that, we still have years to go if we're thinking about reality of general AI. So general conclusion, we people will say straight away, general AI is still science fiction and will remain so for years to come. If anyone begs to differ, maybe you know what you are designing in your backyard and would want us to know about some of your findings now. So just the concept that AI will sort of become so self-aware that it will be indistinguishable from human or autonomous or other sentient creators sit in the general area. So you can see that we've tried to mimic how the human brain works and coming up with things like neural networks. But even so, it is said that the human brain is the most complex thing in the whole universe. That's interesting, even with the stars and everything on top of that. If our brain is the most complex thing in the universe, by mimicking, of course, the brain coming up with neural network, even deep neural network, it so can't actually replicate how our mind actually works. And as we're still years away from going all the way to that point. So yes, we are still at the stage of functional AI or narrow AI making things possible. So that takes us to the human side of AI. Can I pause up to this point to ask a quick question? Can you all hear me? Are you okay with the pace at which I am talking? So at least I don't end up talking to myself.
And please, I have a little issue.
Okay, let's start with the issue.
Your voice, it kind of reduces, the audibility reduces, like it fluctuates from time to time. So
okay, so sorry if I'm coughing into your ear. So majority could hear me except the person that have the issue. Is that correct?
that's what they say.
Those who said yes or nothing. Oh, okay. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
So I'll try to stick to this pace. The moment it fluctuates, please let me know. Stop me, okay? So I don't keep talking, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. So we'll keep working like that from now. It's completely okay just to stop, pause me, and then I'll bring my voice back up. I'm still in pain when I talk, so maybe that's a bit of a struggle, but we've known this to be an issue in the past weeks as well. Okay, so I'll continue from here. Human side of AI. We want to take a step back to ask ourselves some basic questions, very, very basic questions that you've heard of since you were a kid. And yes, if you have a pen and paper and want to write it down, more than welcome to do so, or just shout your answer at me. Not too loud though, but hopefully I will be able to hear you from where you are. Want you to ask yourself, you don't have to ask me, it's rhetorical. What do you want to do when you grow up? Yes, we are all mature people, but yeah, when you graduate, what is your ultimate goal? What do you want to be? Do you have your answer in your head? Or we need one more second. Have I lost the sound? I've lost the sound. Yes.
Yeah, please, somebody said footballer.
Sorry?
Someone said footballer.
Not bad. Well, it was meant to be a rhetorical question, so you keep your answer in your head for the next couple of slides. But someone, thanks for sharing. So do you all have your answer in your head?
We have
Footballers earn a lot of money, by the way. Right. Okay. So you have your answer in your head. Then we have our choices, right? So let's look at this with your answer that you have in your head. Try to answer the following questions, and you can answer it out loud. So these are not rhetorical. Would you rather solve a puzzle or build a table? So the first answer I got in the room was build a table, and we have a couple more voices saying solve the puzzle. Yeah. It's very personal, so it's completely expected that people have different answers. Would you rather be on a team of people striving for the same outcome, or be a team leader or the team leader?
Team leader.
I like the way the first answer always sort of contradicts the masses. So the first one was team leader, and most people said be part of a team. Is that correct? Or
Yeah.
making stuff up. Okay, good. Would you rather invent a breakthrough product or process, or build a company that brings that creation to the market?
I invent.
Did everybody say invent?
No.
I heard a loud no. So we had, was that just one person or just a few people saying they would rather?
It's just one person.
Just one person. So we have only one entrepreneur in the room. Okay. Would you rather discover a new way to make things even better, or dedicate yourself to telling others about how wonderful it is?
Discover a new way to make.
Practically, people do the second one, but then I'd rather people will do the second one.
Rather be the one raising the pitch and doing the sales part of it. Okay, good. So I had a lot of people also saying more or less discover ways to make things better, which is also equally expected as well. So honestly, like we said earlier, this is very subjective, right? And it's individual to you, and more or less whatever floats your boat. Your why is more or less entirely up to you. We did have other questions. So here's what I'm going to say. With regards to what you want to do in life, right? Does it matter what you want to do or what makes you happy? Which one is more important?
What's the question of this question?
Okay. Between what you want to be and what makes you happy, which one is more important about regarding what the job you want to do in the future, or what you want to be, who you want to be in the future?
What brings money?
What makes me happy?
Okay, so everyone more or less going for that. We did have someone saying that sometimes what makes you happy doesn't pay you the most. Wait for the money works.
No, we said we don't get it. No, understand. Explain. I should explain. You know, some people do things that don't make them happy, but it brings a lot of money. Money me. But some people do things that make them happy. Like relax. Like some people like cutting hair. Somebody wants to be a barber. It makes him happy, but it doesn't give him money. But then somebody is like a doctor somewhere, and the person is not happy, but because of the money, you are shutting up.
I'll just pause a few minutes for the debate to settle. Okay, so it's interesting. I like the response, which is maybe money make them happy. It's interesting. We had similar views as well, different people sharing different things, but they always say, if you are working on something, is your why. And other people put it this way, depending on the type of dog running after you, depends on how fast you run, right? Okay. So hopefully you can still hear my voice at this pace, and we'll keep going. So when it comes to artificial intelligence, we just want to see what the options are in terms of the role that you'll be playing as a human, right? And we'll be touching on sort of various roles, and you can think of it this way, that you are working as part of a company, for example, and an AI company, and you can look at where you can sit within the company, if that helps to make things easier to understand. So, so there is, regarding the stuff that we'll be talking about, of course, there is no clear or simple way of saying that there are no uncertainties or there is no overlap in terms of the role that people will be playing, as in there's a clear cut, you have to be this or that, all right? That being said, there are a lot of opportunities for all kinds of activities, responsibilities, and of course, there are plenty of roles or a lot of roles that you can dive into as an individual. And this was the key highlight we made earlier, that there's no overlap, or in terms of there is overlap, there's no clear cut in terms of like you have to be, it's black and white. Sorry. You lose my voice.
Yo, we lost you there.
Oh, okay, so pretty much all I've said is that yes, in the AI industry, there are a lot of opportunities. There are all kind of activities and responsibilities that you can take. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for pausing me, right? And also within these activities or responsibilities, it's not necessarily binary. It's not clear cut as in there are no overlaps or anything. Sometimes, yes, there are overlaps in terms of the responsibilities or the various roles that you can take on. So what we'll be discussing in the next couple of slides doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sit with, or you end up sitting with only one of them for the rest of your career or something like that. Okay, good. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So yeah, you can have general knowledge that will help you sit on a few of them. And most importantly, you go with what works really well with your personality. Like you can tell, we had different views with the previous questions that we asked ourselves, and it's pretty much individualistic. So the first role that we want to look at is the decision maker, right? More or less the boss, right? So the boss will be not the technical expert in the room. Sorry, was there someone saying something? Okay, good. So not necessarily the technical person in the room or within the company, but they make the key decisions, more or less the business leader, can be the research funder or the person who is funding your research and development. If you are going into research, for example, or you've got an R&D department and you're applying for bids to work on various projects, or it can be the entrepreneur who have, sorry, if you pronounce the word differently, this is how I pronounce it within my accent, right? Can be the entrepreneur who, of course, have the initiative and have the big picture in terms of what they want to achieve regarding moving the company forward, the kind of products they want to have and everything. But it's not necessarily the person that can make the actual product happen in terms of with the technical expertise, right? So pretty much this person will assume all the risk relating to things because they are dealing with the financial side of things as well in terms of providing the resources, that including the human resources that is needed. Okay, so they pretty much steer the projects, which means determine whether we should go left, right, or we should put a stop to the whole thing, or maybe move to a different project or not. More or less, everything is more or less in their hands in terms of whether things happen or do not happen. So key thing that they are really good at, you would say, is putting the right team together. So putting things in place to make sure that projects do happen or projects do go ahead. So if you really like being in charge and responsible for overall success of organization or projects, then you might think of your role as a decision maker, more or less, if you want to be a director and all those kind of things. Can I say, what are some of the potential challenges that decision makers are likely to face? It's a question, sorry. What is the potential challenge that the decision maker is likely to face?
Lack of resources.
Yeah, I was saying you take the blame for any bad thing that happens. If anything goes wrong, you are the face of the company. So everyone is come to attack you.
It's your fault, right? If anything goes wrong, it's your fault. Forgive me to say, it's like being a politician in Ghana. Everyone blames you for even the government on their food and on their plate and everything, right? If you don't understand Gobi, I don't apologize. Just say food, right? And anything else, so you take the blame for everything. If things do go wrong, you're the one to be blamed. Any other ideas?
Also trying to incorporate everybody's opinion so that you can make a valid decision.
So incorporating everybody's opinion, which can actually be quite diverse, quite varied, more or less taking a managerial role, which does not necessarily mean that people will always be happy with the final decision you make, because sometimes your decision have to go against what others are recommending as well. And yes, you are responsible for things running ultimately. So you have to link your people together as well. Any other one more, and then we drop in some suggestions as well.
Yeah, you might not know everything. So if your team doesn't sometimes help you with ideas, you might get stuck.
You might not know everything. Sometimes even if you ask for a duck and you end up with chicken, you may not really know what is happening in the end. But yes, if your team is also lacking the technical expertise or technical drive, you may actually end up bidding for projects that may not be come to reality, because maybe you may need a completely different team to make that project happen as well. So thank everyone who contributed. Thank you so much. Some other examples, yes, we've mentioned taking the blame, and also you are responsible for all the finances that goes with it. So if there is any reputational risk, that is you taking a bigger risk than the rest of your team. And if there is a potential lawsuit, I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is when Facebook and other Google and other companies had GDPR issues. It was the bosses that we saw in the news. It wasn't the people who are making the technical decisions or technical implementations, right? So if you're okay with all of this and you're a bold person and want to go for it, then you are likely to be a decision maker and find yourself in that key position. Are you okay for me to continue? And are you okay with the rate of my voice at this point?
Yes.
Pitch. Okay, good. So you can hear my voice at this pitch. That's okay. Then we have the analysts, right? So you've got the bosses. Sorry, my computer froze. Give it a second. Hopefully it'll come back. Oh, it's working. So you've got a boss or the decision makers, and then you've got the data scientists, and between them, we have the analyst sitting in there, right? So the boss is not necessarily the technical expert, right? And the data scientists know how to make things really happen. So the analyst will take, well, the vision of the boss, translate it in a way that the data scientists will understand, and then vice versa, take it back to the boss. You can think of them as middle management sort of thing. Take it back to the boss or the decision maker in a way that they can also understand this. So they are more or less an interpreter who can take the challenges or the goal and translate it more or less back and forth into a data problem. Are we okay up to this point? Are we okay up to this point? Okay. Shall we take quick 5 minutes comfort break, and then we come back like 40-ish? The people need comfort break. Is that okay? And we can come back and then finish up. 5 minutes comfort break.
You carry the robot.
Hello. 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 Can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
So we're getting close to the hour, so we're not far off from finishing. So hopefully I can get your attention now, and I have your permission to continue. Can we continue?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So far we've got two rows. What are they? Let me move away from this slide before someone sees. What are they? Oh. Let me know your name. Let me know your name as well.
Sure.
Okay. Michael, please have a question.
Okay, hopefully I've got an answer for you.
Yes, that's me. How can you answer a question? Where do I? Data analysis, and business, the manager. Maker.
What was the question?
My question is, okay, so what's the difference a data scientist, analyst, and AI, a machine learning engineer?
Oh, okay, so are you asking me the questions about the slides we're about to look at?
Okay.
So before we look at the slides, you tell me the two rows we've looked at so far.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Before we look at the slides, tell me the two rows that we have looked at so far. Because you mentioned all four of them, so at least you should have two in there.
I should mention the two roles we have looked at so far.
Yeah, just before the break.
A data analyst and the decision maker.
Okay, so we have the decision maker, or more or less the boss or the manager, and then we've got the analyst. And in attempt to answer half of your question, which is what we have said, is that the analyst will translate sort of the vision into almost close to the technical terms that the data scientist can understand, right? Are we comfortable up to that point?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So that being said, then we can look at what the data scientist does as well. And hopefully that will be an attempt to answer the question that has been asked. So yes, build the AI models. So basically, the data scientists are the statisticians who really understand the technology, the maths, and can build the AI modules to solve the data problems, right? That is analyst define. So more or less, analysts take the vision, translate it to close to technical. Data scientists take that particular vision and then make it reality in model terms, right? We okay up to this point?
Yes.
So then a step further that's where the engineer comes in, right? So if you're thinking about engineers make things happen, you can simply view it this way. The engineer is going to capture the data or make the data available to the data scientist. So tools through which you're using sensors or anything in terms of getting into the field, data acquisition and all those kind of things, that's where the engineers come in. Then managing the data. So if we say, let's use a few other words in terms of where the data management comes in, right? So things like once you capture or acquire it, cleaning the data or making it in readable format. So cleaning the data, getting rid of the unnecessary or the noise from the data. Let me use noise in code, okay? Organizing the data. So organize the data. I use an S because I'm in the UK. and also ensure that the data is transferable from point A to point B reliably. That's acquisition of the data itself. This more or less take place by the engineers so that the data scientists can make use of the resulting models and then also scale them up for production. Does that answer your question up to this point?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we've got, it's okay, I could hear you. So we've got the decision makers, we've got the analysts, we've got the data scientists, we've got the engineer. And if you're thinking about it from the angle of, let's say when we're using Colab, right? It's still got a bit of code, it's still got a bit of maybe output in there, but not necessarily in a format that someone from the general public can use with ease, right? Because they still need a bit of AI knowledge in order to work with it step by step. So that's where the product creators will come in. So if you're thinking about the product creators sitting between the technical side and the end user, putting them in a format that the end user can easily make use of it, like in terms of things like APIs, or even if they are going out as libraries, or where the tools that are going to be transferred from one organization to the other, but they don't necessarily work with things at the low level as much as the data scientists do. They just packaging stuff in a format that other companies, it meets other company requirements and other things. Are we okay up to this point?
Yes, but please, I have a question.
Go on.
Yes, I know it's a bit out of context, but can you append the income and the financial attach it to the maybe? So I want to know how much the leader, the decision maker makes, analyst, the data scientist. So we can come happy.
Sorry, the question is that the same person who said money matters at the beginning? Is that yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so bear with me. Normally I do this, right? Just bear with me. I'm just going to do a quick Google search to see the latest finances. I won't have a full breakdown, but I can get a proper one and send to you later. How about that?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, but just give me a second to see what I can find out within this short time.
Sure, you can take your time.
Wait till it's 1 o'clock and you tell me you have to leave. Say take your time. Right, just bear with me. Let's see what we can find. This from Indeed for data scientists. Indeed, mostly it's like a recruitment agency in the UK. I'm not sure whether Indeed has some jobs over in Ghana, but I mean, it's the quick search I can do here, and it's default here. Before, what I got was average was around 60K in terms of 60K pounds.
Oh, wow.
Before this, I'm getting about 50K, but you can see a job in somewhere that is almost 100K per year. Of course, that's before tax, and you see a few there. So average around 50K, but you got really high ones as well. Let me see data engineer what comes up. Also not in Indeed, but saying open average for data engineer being around 50. That's quite close as well. I mean, this one being more or less proper 50, slightly higher, but it's not Indeed. A proper comparison will be to use Indeed. So just let me see what I can find Indeed. But at the same time, this is a really quick search. We've got some. And I'm pretty sure you can do the same at your end as well. Look how it varies over time as well, but I think there was one here that was slightly higher, but I'm not going to go with that detail. So at least we've got a comparison and Indeed and Glassdoor. The other websites I use to search for jobs, but I think data scientists do get a lot more on the average. Let me see. You don't want me to do this? I can keep going. Oh, I've got one data engineer at the managerial level. It's quite slow, being also close to 90K, but not, it's more or less 81K. So it's on 80K. Yeah, I don't want to accept any cookies or anything. So you can do some digging. It's quite interesting. I mean, the salaries are quite high on the average. And of course, if you are managing finances, all the risk and other things, normally they tend to have higher salary, much, much higher. Our money person in the classroom, you satisfied with your answer so far?
Yes, please.
Okay. You can do more digging, right? So we've touched on the product created as well, and I think it brings us to a really good point where we want to look at. We want to start looking at augmenting ourselves in AI, right? So augmenting yourself simply means making use of some of the basic AI tools around. Try to make your life simpler, just to familiarize with it, not to necessarily cheat in life. So don't use some AI tools to write your reports or do your assignment for you, and then you just do final tweaks, but more or less make it part of your life in order to have a competitive advantage, or to make this dream that we started off with in terms of who we want to be come to pass a lot sooner for us, if it can be. So we'll be looking at different tools, and I think I did a quick demo, so I'm going to do something again. If you just bear with me whilst I find Word. Are we familiar with the dictate feature of Word?
Yes.
We use it quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, personally, if I am in a meeting, I sometimes prefer to do this where I use Word to automatically take notes for me. It's quite interesting because I think it's quite smart. Sometimes it doesn't always get the words right. For some interesting reason, the one on my desktop is quite smarter than the one on my laptop, and I tend to use my laptop a lot more, but this is how it works for me. Desktop seems to be close to accurate, but you realize that places where it's not sure of, it kind of highlights over time, so you can actually go back and then edit them, full stop. So let's try new paragraph. That was full stop, not first stop. Right, new paragraph. So it seems to be responding all right. No, it missed the whole new paragraph, but did identify new paragraph for me. So let's say comma. New paragraph. It seems I have to speak a bit slower sometimes for it to work, but I think it's pretty smart. If you are in class and you don't want to be writing notes or typing, maybe you like me, can be sometimes lazy, at least you have a nice way of putting notes down. Or if you have someone who is neurodivergent or probably dyslexic, you don't necessarily have to buy expensive software to help you take down notes. These things seem to be quite smart enough. Anyway, I won't get too distracted. I'll pause here on this. There's some interesting tools for making our life easier. So I've shared these slides. They'll be sent across as well. And I'll share the link to this video in the slide. So one of those examples is X.AI. Some of these examples we've also shared in our news activity in the class. And this was the main one that I intended to stop on. It's still under 4 minutes, so we have enough time to finish this particular video. Let me know if you can't hear it, but hopefully you should be able to hear it.
We are living in the future, and I can prove it because I've got a new personal assistant, and she's a robot. Let's see if she can help me navigate the complexities of modern office life. Meet my lovely new secretary called Amy Ingram. Sadly, she's not real in any sense. She's not even a robot. She's entirely online, and I chat to her via email. What Amy claims to do is do one thing very well, and that is help me run my diary, particularly scheduling meetings. So how does Amy work? Well, you sign up with her, and then she sends you an email. She says, click here to connect all of your calendars. And that's what I'm doing. I then have to put in my scheduling preferences. So I'm setting all these preferences via the X.AI website, but in fact, I could just email Amy with, I really like coffee meetings in the morning on a Tuesday, and if you should mention the word beer, that means I want to meet after work, and she'll sort it out all for you. The key thing is, and this is what's so strange and unnerving, is you copy Amy in to all correspondence you have with your contacts about a meeting, and then Amy takes over. Now, I've been getting to grips with Amy over the last week or so, and she's sort of taken over my life. I was contacted by someone in the PR industry who wanted to meet for breakfast, and I said, great. I copied Amy into this correspondence. And I said, how about the Wolseley on Wednesday? The Wolseley happens to be a well-known restaurant that I knew this PR person would know. But Amy's come back to me saying, I see you would like to use the Wolseley as location for this meeting to make sure that you and Poppy don't miss each other, and you give me an exact address. And I thought I'd be very difficult, and I just said Piccadilly, which is a huge big street. But to give credit, the next thing I heard, Amy comes back to me with a diary invite with indeed the completely correct address at the time, and it's sent out to both me and to Poppy. Though curiously, I see that Amy has invited herself to breakfast, but as she's virtual, I'm sure she could slip in very easily for a flat white and a croissant. And I like the fact that here I've got from Poppy saying, I've been going through my emails communicating with Amy, and I thought she was a real person. So Amy clearly does what she says on the tin. Well, a lot of people predicted that 2016 would be the year of AI. And based on Amy, they might be right. She behaves like a human, and she sends out emails on my behalf in very human speak and signs them off as from Amy Ingram, personal assistant to Harry Wallop, which for me is a little bit pompous as a journalist, but if you are a startup business or a consultant, I can see that adds real kudos to your fledgling business. Okay, she can't yet book me hotel tickets or train tickets or buy flowers for my wife on her birthday, but other companies are all working on this sort of idea. Are we living in the future? I think we might just be. Get ready to live your life to Amy.
I think that's very interesting. So they've got Amy and Andrew, where you can win to do be your personal AI assistant. That's really
Please,
good.
you can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Did you hear the video though?
Your voice is a bit low.
Did you hear the video?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Phew. Otherwise, that would have been another 12 minutes. So they do have Amy and Andrew, which you can actually choose between to be your personal AI assistant. So the next couple of slides that we'll be looking at some more examples like this to see what is out there and which ones that you can augment in your life. And you can start looking into which ones are freely available to you. And I would like to see which tools you'll find and also how you can embed it in your life as well.